Hello, my name is Dave Richardson. This is a photo of me in 1968 piloting a Jolly Green helicopter. And this is a photo of me today. Quite a change, huh? I was a Jolly Green Rescue Crew Commander, or RCC, flying out of NKP, Thailand in 1967-1968. In that year, I flew 107 combat missions. In fact, here I am about ready to leave on my very first one. While there, I was fortunate enough to perform 7 rescues, which saved the lives of 9 men. This photo shows my co-pilot and me changing the rescue number on the Jolly Green doll, which hung in the Officers Club. In 2002, I decided to record my experiences as a sort of legacy to my children. This is what the cover looked like. It wasn't originally intended for distribution to the general public, but word got around, and family members and friends began asking for a copy. In response, I renamed the book and had it commercially published. This is what the cover looks like now. The book is available on Amazon.com and has been very favorably received. If you would like to view the photos or learn more about the book, I encourage you to visit my website, vnrescues.com. Well, enough of me. I just wanted to introduce myself before launching into the first of 3 planned videos, which are this one, number 1, Jolly Green Combat Search and Rescue Tactics, and coming, number 2, the rescue of Candlestick 01, and number 3, the rescue of Sandy 05. Videos 2 and 3 feature actual combat footage of the rescues. Here we go. Jolly Green marches on. Now to our subject, Jolly Green Combat Search and Rescue Tactics. Our helicopter, the HH-3E, call sign Jolly Green, was used to rescue downed pilots in the Vietnam War. No one seems to know for sure how the call sign Jolly Green originated. It's thought the sight of the large sand and green colored helicopter played a role in that choice. Originally, we flew our helicopters unarmed. Thankfully, the decision was made to mount M60 machine guns on each side. Our crews stood alert and flew out of the fully operational field at Nakhon Phanom, or NKP, Thailand. We also stood alert and flew out of primitive landing strips on mountain tops in enemy territory. The alert tours lasted 3 days at both sites. A typical schedule was that one would pull alert at home base, have a day or so off, then take off for 3 days of alert up north, returning to home base for a day or so of squadron duty and some more time off before assuming alert at home base all over again. Due to the sensitive nature of our mission, we flew without national insignia on the aircraft, and our uniforms were bare. Here's a shot of a Jolly flying with his refueling probe extended. Notice the absence of national insignia. The H-3 could fly for roughly 6 hours with external drop tanks, which made it ideal for the long positioning and rescue missions we flew. It was also capable of in-flight refueling from specially modified C-130 aircraft, which extended our range considerably. When an aircraft was shot down, the Jolly from the closest alert site would be launched. Once airborne on a rescue mission, the job of the helicopter pilot, the RCC, was both simple and complex. He was expected to fly his helicopter, at 100 knots, deep into enemy territory to a spot where a jet fighter, flying at 500-plus knots, had just been shot down. Not an easy task. Upon arriving in the area, his task was to ignore enemy fire as he conducted a search for a lone survivor on the ground in dense jungle, whose trees often reached 120 feet in height. We flew our helicopters in pairs. One was the low, or rescue bird, while the other was the high, or backup aircraft. In this shot, I'm the high bird. The helicopter in the center is the low helicopter. He flew over the ridge to the left to make the pickup while I held in place. Fortunately, in this case, all proceeded as planned, and he succeeded in rescuing the survivor. For protection, we were accompanied by 4 prop-driven A-1 fighters, whose call sign was Sandy. 2 of the Sandys would zoom ahead in an effort to both locate the survivor and to check for enemy defenses. The other 2 would remain behind to protect the helicopters. When both Jollies had arrived on the scene, the Sandys would join up and attempt to suppress as much of the ground fire as possible. After the Sandys had done their best, Jolly would be called upon to perform the rescue. This was a critical pivot point of the entire mission. In an instant, the RCC would have to make a decision. Were the odds sufficiently in his favor that he could risk a helicopter and the lives of 4 men to save just one? If he felt the situation was too dangerous, it was his option to terminate the effort, in which case everyone would go home, leaving the survivor to his fate, no questions asked. If, on the other hand, he elected to continue and were to be shot down, which happened occasionally, but thank God never to me, then the backup helicopter was expected to immediately fly in and try to rescue what was now 5 men on the ground. Ideally, each rescue attempt would end with a survivor returned to friendly forces. This, then, is my story of the Jolly Green combat search and rescue effort during the Vietnam War.